revitalize your joints so that you can move again. QC Kinetics has helped so many people, and they're now here in Utah. You'll find their medical professionals in Mill Creek, Provo, and Bountiful, and they're ready to help deliver your relief and help you get your life back. This is the future of medicine, so call QC Kinetics today, 385-766-1987. That's 385-766-1987. Call QC Kinetics today, 385-766-1987.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We do have an accident in Murray, northbound I-15 at the South Interchange, the I-215 junction. It's out of traffic on the right shoulder and leftover heavy and slow traffic southbound I-15 from the South Interchange to 90th South. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And the heat wave arrives today, a high of 103. Tomorrow, 105, 106 on Friday. Wildfire smoke will also affect our air quality. Right now, 95 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
And welcome to another edition of Inside Sources. I'm your host this afternoon, Greg Skordas, and I'm alongside Adam Gardner, my friend, and a typical colleague on this show. We've done a couple of KSL at nights and a couple of, I think we've done this show before once.
Yeah, we have. My first time ever doing a live show was with you.
There awesome. We go. So, and anyway, we've had a lot of fun the last couple hours preparing for the show. I think you're going to enjoy the show. We're going to start on a subject that I think is a little tough to talk about, and that is breaking news of the day. Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill has announced that he has in fact filed criminal charges, felony bribery charges, against former Attorney General candidate Frank Mylar. And if you recall, Frank was a Republican candidate for Attorney General. He did very, very well at the Republican convention.
He won. He won in convention.
Yeah, and he came within an eyelash. I think he was like 59.4%, and you needed 60%. Yeah. So he wasn't the only candidate to come out of the convention. We know that Rachel Terry got 40+%, so she was one of the primary candidates. And Derek Brown ran the signature gathering avenue. So there were 3 candidates for the Republican primary. Derek Brown came out of that by a plurality, we'll call it. I think he got 48 or some percent. Frank Mylar came in third place. He lost, but he really came in very, very close to being the
The results of the convention were, it's interesting. It's a great case study on convention versus primary and signature versus delegates, because the elections were completely turned on their head. Frank Mylar takes first, primary takes third, Derek Brown takes third, and then wins handily in the primary.
And the numbers were even flipped around. I mean, it was not just their place, but
close.
almost exactly that. And it was the same with a lot of races there. But prior to the convention, Mylar allegedly had a dialogue with another candidate. And at the time, if you'll recall, Adam, Trent Christensen was a fourth candidate for the Attorney General.
Right.
And he was running pretty strong. Mylar allegedly, and I'm looking at the probable cause statement filed by the District Attorney's Office just a few hours ago, said this at 8:03 on the morning of April 19th. He says this: "Hey, Trent, in my last day of trial, and by God's grace, my campaign has picked up more steam. I won Weber and was only there 10 minutes. Overwhelmingly won Davis. If you could endorse me before the convention, I would definitely include you in my office. Think about it for a few days. Thanks. Good luck today." Boom. I mean, what do you think when you hear that?
If he would have the first thing I think of is stop putting stuff in writing.
Right.
Like have a phone conversation or meet in an underground parking garage like they did in the 70s. Stop texting people. And
it's funny, but people almost think of a text as a conversation. That's the problem.
That's a problem.
Do you think, well, but it's you really need to think of it like a letter.
Yeah.
It's there. Anyway, I cut you off.
No, that's a great point, because if you remember everything that happened with previous attorneys general,
right?
When they went to court, all of the text messages between their campaign staffs and their professional offices, they all became public.
Right.
Everything, it was dirty laundry. And we talk conversationally in text when we should not. Picture the KSL or the Tribune posting all of your text messages. You would run and hide.
Right, you'd die.
And so the fact that he put this in writing was incredibly stupid. Mm-hmm. He thought he was having a conversation with a friend. They were not friends. They were opponents.
Right.
And he was still a candidate. Trent was still a candidate. He had not dropped out. And the other thing I'm thinking is when he said, I won Weber, I won Davis, these are like straw polls at Lincoln Day dinners.
Right.
These are not election contests. They are not delegate contests. So I don't know, by God's grace, I won a straw poll at a dinner. So that was interesting to say. But he could have stopped short at saying, I would really appreciate you endorsing me. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
But when he said, if you do, then this, well, my friends, that's bribery.
Yeah, and it really is. And so today, Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill confirmed that the charges are filed, but he made clear, as he should as a district attorney, that Mylar is entitled to the presumption of innocence.
These are allegations only at this stage in our charging. This is not an adjudication of guilt. There's a presumption of innocence that applies in every filing that we do, and that applies here as well.
And of course, that's true. I mean, these are allegations. We're only talking about them in that respect. But it is a criminal charge. And Sim went on to mention what the burden of proof is like in a criminal case, which is high. It's much higher than a civil case.
The burden of proof in a criminal prosecution is the highest burden, and for good reason, because when you make a criminal allegations, you can impact people's liberty interests, and we're held to that higher standard.
So when a district attorney or a county attorney, we have both in this state, consider the conduct of an individual, what they do is they look at the conduct, they look at the text message, and they compare it with the law and what the legislature intended. What's the statutory construction? And here's how Sim equated the two.
Our analysis is based on the statutory construct, the evidence, that is the quantity and quality of the evidence. And so what is alleged to have been done? Is there supportive evidence? And does that conduct violate any law that's there?
And finally, Sim Gill, the Salt Lake County District Attorney, went on to talk about that. I don't know. This case is different than most. It's not the kind of case you typically see, and I think that the district attorney absolutely has to wrestle when you get a case like this.
These are not things that we typically see, but the evidence was there. The statute is really straightforward and clear, and based on what was presented to our screening attorneys, we filed the charges that we did today.
So I think what we're hearing, Adam, is that maybe the district attorney just didn't have any choice. I mean, you look at the facts, you look at the law, and you say, do the facts fit what the statutory construction of the law is? I mean, we're looking today at Alec Baldwin, and people are going, why is he charged with a crime? He didn't mean to kill anybody, but he killed somebody, and the law in New Mexico allows...
And killing someone is frowned upon in New Mexico.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. In Mexico, they don't like that. And in New Mexico, they have a law called involuntary manslaughter. We don't have that in Utah. We have a sort of a tweak on that a little bit. It says, hey, even if it's not intentional, if your conduct is reckless enough, we're going to charge you. And Sim Gill's looking at the law here, bribery in elections. It's in the Utah Code. And I'll paraphrase it a little bit. But what it says is if an individual offers or promises any office or employment in order to obtain the political support of any person, they have committed bribery in an election, and that is a third-degree felony. It's the lowest level felony. It's one step above a misdemeanor, but it's a felony. Yep. I mean, this is a serious charge. And, I mean, I agree with Sim 100%. There's a presumption of innocence, and I don't know how Mylar is going to address this. I'm sure he's got competent counsel, and we'll see how it all shakes out. But right now, you have to ask yourself, Adam, and you and I have both been involved in the political circle. There are just things you do, like campaign financing. It's one of those things you have to know about.
Yeah.
If you're running for office, you have to have people that tell you, hey, you can't take money from this person. You can't take more than this amount.
And even if you're running in a state race, there are federal rules that still apply to you. You can break federal laws.
But I mean, doesn't bribery seem like electioneering?
He's also
101?
a lawyer.
Right, yeah, and he's running for attorney general.
I'm quite dumb, and when I ran for an election, I had to know this stuff. This guy's a lawyer.
Right.
That's what surprised me probably the most.
Yeah, and you have to think now, to his credit, I guess, mitigation, 6 hours after he made the bribe, he contacted Christensen and said, hey, please disregard that text. It's I'm internal, whatever that means. I didn't mean to send it. Sorry to bother you. It's not an offer. Hope you're feeling better. And what another weird thing about this, we can talk about more about after the break because we've got to leave here in just a second, is it comes through to Christensen on April 19th, but he reports it to the police on May 14th. After the break, I want to talk to you about the delay a little bit and kind of where we go from here. Stay with us.
Weeks of counting and still no decision.
Less than 200 votes separate the Republican primary candidates.
We're tracking the razor-thin race for Congressional District 2. Incumbent Celeste Malloy and challenger Colby Jenkins. We won't make you wait for the decision. Get the breaking news this week on KSL News Radio.
IVC is celebrating 20 years providing quality service in Utah. You've probably heard their saying by now, life starts when the pain stops. IVC is the most trusted interventional and vein center in the state, and they've been voted Best of Utah Valley 10 years running. The 7 physicians at IVC provide state-of-the-art, comprehensive vein care with many years of experience. The team at IVC takes the time to get to know you and your veins so you're comfortable with the right diagnosis and the right treatment. Patients are like family at IVC. You've also heard many radio ads over the years with real people describing how IVC has dramatically improved their quality of life by eliminating the pain and discomfort caused by varicose veins. Well, what are you waiting for? Don't let vein disease slow you down even one more day, because life starts when the pain stops. Visit ivein.com today to set up a free screening. That's ivein.com.
You've been working so hard to keep your lawn and garden looking good. Maybe it's time to make your home look incredible with new window frames and double-pane glass from Advanced Window Products. If you can imagine it, they can create it at their factory in Salt Lake City. Any style, any color, security enhancements to keep your family safe. All this and factory direct pricing. You're buying local and paying less. So seal up your home and reap the energy savings with Advanced Window Products, where they've been creating windows for 38 years. No subcontractors, they're not resellers. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. And right now at their summer special, get an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. They offer 0% financing and even buy now, pay later. Busy season's just hitting. Call now. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off. But you have to call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or go to advancedwindowsusa.com.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See, we didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
Life hack number 7. Get an iPhone 12 on Straight Talk.
Life hack.
Here's how it works. You walk into Walmart, go to the electronics section, ask for iPhone 12 with 5G and a dual camera system, and select the new Silver Unlimited plan. They'll smile because it's a good plan. You get real unlimited data all for just $20 a month for the whole first year. Get it at Walmart or StraightTalk.com. Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Taxes and fees apply. Requires activation of iPhone 12 and a new Silver Unlimited plan or higher-end auto pay enrollment. $25 a month service credit applied for up to 12 months if eligibility requirements are met. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan, where we know how to celebrate summer. First, something super cool when it's really hot. Logan has a brand new plaza downtown with music and games and a splash pad for kids. I mean, I said kids, but hey, we don't judge. Jump in. Keep it cool by stepping inside one of 3 historic theaters for more than 250 professional live performances in 5 weeks. Wow, nobody does that. But we do, because we're Utah's heart of the arts. Chill on Center Street before or after the show and sink your teeth into sourdough pizza, a brew and a burger, hand-dipped chocolates, or other delicious goodies from fun cafes. Don't forget, your hotel is only 10 minutes from the National Forest for hiking and biking. Take gorgeous photos of the stunning scenery and enjoy cooler temperatures in the canyon. Step back in time at the American West Heritage Center. You can hang out with a mountain man, have a pony ride, meet pioneers, and check out the farm. We've got a lot going on. Check us out at ExploreLogan.com. Inside or out, we're always a few degrees cooler. ExploreLogan.com. ExploreLogan.com.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit AnyHourServices.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, one of the Republican candidates in the primary for Utah Attorney General has been charged with a felony. Frank Mylar accused of offering another candidate a job if he'd drop out of the race. Second, researchers at Utah State University say if the Great Salt Lake keeps shrinking, so will our water supply. And third, in opening statements today, prosecutors say Alec Baldwin was negligent when handling a gun. Baldwin's on trial for the shooting that happened on the Rust movie set. 95 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm Adam Gardner here with Greg Skordas. We've been talking about the Frank Mylar case. He has just been charged a couple of hours ago by Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill. We left off with a conversation about where, Greg, you were reading the text message that Frank Mylar sent to Trent Christensen, who was a candidate at the time for Attorney General, 2 lawyers texting each other. So it's going to be on the record somewhere. And Trent Christensen, he initially waited a while. He received a text message kind of taking it back from Frank Mylar saying, hey, disregard everything I just said. And a while later, he went to the Murray City Police Department. He lives in Murray, I believe, and or Frank does, one of the two. and submitted it to the Murray Police Department, which I actually found interesting. I was like, I would never take this to a police department. I would take it to the DA. But so that was interesting. And then the Murray Police investigated and then referred it to the DA's office. But I wanted to add some context here. When you read the text message of Frank Mylar taking it back, you as an attorney who's probably tried more judge and jury cases and trials than anyone in the state, does a judge or a jury take that into consideration that, oops?
Yeah, and I think that the district attorney should as well. I mean, I think that that Salt Lake County DA Sim Gill had to have thought about that as well. And by the way, if you have a crime and you think that somebody's done something and you call the district attorney, they're going to say call the police. So they always say start with the police.
Great.
They have an investigative office within the DA's office, but they typically don't take on cases themselves. So the fact that Murray City started this investigation means, like you said, probably Christensen, the person that received the bribe, was in Murray at the time or lived in Murray or something. And anyway, there's some jurisdiction there in Murray. But it doesn't necessarily matter. It's just sort of how the case gets started. But I'll just say this, I represent people who are charged with theft or, even something as simple as shoplifting. They get caught outside the store and they'll go, I'll go back inside to pay for it. That's sort of the same thing here.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I just accidentally put that. I forgot to run that through the self checkout thing, but let me fix it. So, I mean, the fact that Mylar does recognize, hey, disregard that text. I'm internal. I don't know what that means. I didn't mean to send it. And he was in a trial. He said he was really busy. Another thing that's a little, troubling is that Mylar claims that Christensen said, no big deal. I forgot about it the minute I got it or something like that. But it bugged Christensen, apparently. It was something that he couldn't just blow under the rug, so to speak. And so he does file the report with Murray City about 4 weeks later.
It was right after, I think, he endorsed Rachel Terry.
Ouch.
So he had been knocked out of convention. Him and Derek Brown did not make it past convention, but Derek had signatures. Trent did not. And then Trent came out and endorsed Rachel Terry. And that was a story for a second. And then the next couple of days, I believe, if I remember correctly, that's when he leaked that he had filed this report.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, it's even a little more suspect. But not that it didn't occur, but that the timing of the report and Trent,
Does it matter if Trent said no big deal?
No. I mean, I say that it doesn't matter if the crime occurred, but it matters in terms of, did Trent consider it a bribe? I mean, was he really taken in by it, that type of thing? I mean, on its face, and the law doesn't say you have to give them the job. It says offer or promise any office or employment. That's the law. Offer or promise any office or employment in order to obtain the political support or aid of any person. And he says, if you could endorse me before the convention, I would definitely include you in my office. I mean, cha-ching. I mean, it sort of falls on all four. I mean, I don't know that Sim Gill had much choice.
Well, and he's prosecuted one of these before.
Yeah.
If you remember, in 2008, there was a statewide treasurer's race, which, of course, everyone follows with bated breath, the statewide treasurers, second only to the auditor.
Right.
And so everyone's, following this race, and there was a real up-and-coming, legislator who was well-liked by his colleagues, Mark Walker. And there was a similar exchange between the incumbent, who he was leaving the legislature to run against, Richard Ellis, and an offer was made, hey, I will include you in my office if I win, so if you feel free to drop out, was kind of the angle there. And he reported that conversation, and it took a long time. Like, this is maybe this is a personal issue with the Salt Lake DA's office. This took a long time.
Right.
Politically, it was really good for a Democratic DA to be punishing Republican office holders, and so I think they milked this a little bit. But when all was said and done, he pled guilty to a Class B misdemeanor.
Yeah.
And was a slap on the wrist. 100 hours of community service, I think, was all of it. that happened there. So I don't know what will happen with this one. This one's actually in writing.
Yeah, you might expect the same thing here. Although I would have thought this, Adam. I mean, clearly Mylar's got an attorney. I assume, and they've probably been in touch with the DA's office.
Sure.
It wouldn't be uncommon during the investigative stage for there to be some pre-filing plea bargaining going on, some conversation between the attorneys. Look, don't file the case as a felony just because you're going to drop it to a misdemeanor anyway. Just file it as a misdemeanor, and I'll just come in and plead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you know,
let's get this thing over with.
Yeah. Let's not drag this out, because often a first-time offender with a charge with a felony in Utah would almost always get a break at a misdemeanor level, at least if it's the lowest level felony, which is the third-degree felony. The next level down is what we call a Class A misdemeanor. First-time offender, it's not a people crime. It's not a property crime either. It's one of those crimes involving, the administration of justice or whatever you want to call it. It's a
elected officials and those running are held to a higher standard.
Right. And so maybe the district attorney felt like, look, we're just going to file this case. We'll still work something out. I mean, and I feel for Mylar. I really do, just sort of looking at this case and looking at the facts of the case, because I'll say this, and I represent a lot of attorneys before the bar. And I don't know that the bar is going to look at this case, but I don't know how they can avoid it.
Do they only look at it after the fact? So he's pled to something, or he gets he's innocent, he's found not guilty. Then does that sway the bar's decision?
Kind of a little bit. What'll happen is it's hit the news, so the bar, it's on their radar right now.
Gotcha.
They'll be looking at it. A lawyer is accused of a felony. That's on their radar. They may sort of divert their own investigation and say, let's see how the criminal case shakes out before we do anything. And if he's convicted of a felony, we'll address that. If he's convicted of a misdemeanor, we'll address that. A felony of this type, if he was to be convicted, would be what we call presumptive disbarment. In other words, the bar, you would presume they would disbar Mylar. Now, I'm not suggesting they do that. I'm not even hoping they do that. I'm just saying
and
that
we don't have any special knowledge of the case.
Right,
We're just throwing this back and forth.
But a felony of this type, involving moral turpitude, would equate to a presumptive disbarment with the bar. Whether they take it up or not, we don't know. I mean, and by the way, people think that you've got to file a bar complaint before somebody is brought before the bar. They can bring their own cases. They can initiate their own cases based on what they see in the news. So they don't need somebody to file a bar complaint. They can do that. And I'm not suggesting they will, but I think the fallout for this could be a problem for Mylar. Let's hope that it's not. I mean, he's a decent lawyer. He seems to be a good man. But boy, he'd made a terribly dumb decision.
And
here. I think that's his defense.
I agree.
Mea culpa. Boy, did I mess up.
I was stupid.
Right.
I sent the text.
Right.
You obviously know I regretted it because later I sent this text.
Withdrew it. Right.
Oh man, I feel embarrassed.
Right. And I think everybody would forgive him. But
yeah, because we've all done stupid stuff. We've sent a text. Oh, I sent this text to the wrong person. I sent it. So we've all done that. Right. So we'll see how this shakes out. I just to kind of close up here, I have been in situations where I have not been approached. But I've seen public officials in private settings where someone will come to them and say, I want you to hire my son, or I would love a job with you, while they're running for office. And every single time, this is my way of expressing and showing that these are really good people, have very cordially said, I am not allowed to discuss this until after the election.
Take the high road.
Then come and see me.
Don't even go down there.
And I think that's pretty cool.
That's right.
Next up, we're going to be talking about the endless cycle of parenting. Stay with us.
It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour, the entire Wasatch Front looking at highs up to and exceeding 100 degrees today. We have a chance to break a record in the coming days.
The all-time record for Salt Lake is 107, so we're going to be flirting with that number as we head into the weekend.
That's KSL meteorologist Kristen Van Dyke, who says right now the projected highs are 105 tomorrow, 106 Friday, 105 again Saturday. And the next day that the forecast is expected to be below 100 is until Tuesday next week. In St. George, they're projected to see at least 113 degrees for the next few days. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden says for the first time ever, every country in NATO is pledging to do their part by developing plans for defense production at home. Biden says the 75-year-old alliance is stronger than ever. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average now 257 points up, and the NASDAQ is up by 178 points. And just ahead, a stretch of hot weather like we haven't seen for a good long time. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
I'm Eric Ramos, healthcare provider at Revive Men's Health. If you are always feeling tired or moody, have a difficult time sleeping, or decreased libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam at Revive Men's Health, Salt Lake City. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Let's face it, nothing makes you look older than you really are than thinning hair. But what if you could not only increase your hair count, but promote new hair growth without surgery, without drugs with potential side effects, and without a prescription from your doctor? Well, now you can, thanks to a breakthrough new supplement called Hair Grow. Provided by New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Europe. Hair Grow is now available in the U.S. Only Hair Grow contains Tocogaya, a powerful antioxidant that has received a U.S. patent. Multiple clinical studies show Hair Grow is safe and effective in promoting new hair growth. In one study, 95% of the patients using Hair Grow saw increased hair count. Don't lose more time and more hair. Try Hair Grow today to feel and look your best. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS. Look younger and feel more confident with Hair Grow by New Nordic at NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
Les Olson IT is your source for top quality technology. We carry the latest desktop and laptop PCs in stock, configured to your specific needs, and backed by our award-winning support team. And if your business demands high-performance hardware, we offer custom-built computers that can tackle any task. We also offer great computer accessories like monitors, keyboards, speakers, Fujitsu document scanners, and more. Get a quote today.
Les Olson IT.
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son.
On September 12, 1995, McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas.
There was no sign of forced entry. It was just as if McKay had walked out of his own free will.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, feels that justice was never truly served. Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
Crews are still working to clear this crash in Murray, northbound I-15. At the I-215 junction at the south interchange, the vehicles are out of traffic on the right shoulder. It's a bit of a tight squeeze, but no major delays. Hey, Utah, summer has come alive. All better in a new vehicle from Murdoch Hyundai. Lisa Tucson SEL for $377 per month, or 1.99% for 5 years. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The heat wave is here. A high of 103 today, 105 tomorrow, 106 on Friday. And wildfire smoke will also affect our air quality. It's 99 degrees right now with sunny skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your host this afternoon, Greg Skordas, and I'm alongside Adam Gardner. And Adam, you don't have adult children, so you kind of can check out of this next conversation a little bit. Although
I'm not going to check out.
You are
I'm
an
preparing.
adult child, so maybe this will apply to you as from the perspective of the child. But there's an article, a really interesting article in The Atlantic by Faith Hill, who we're going to interview here in just a minute, about the way that technology and just the sort of the changing dynamics of where we are right now has increased, or at least allowed for more of an engagement, more of a conversation between parents and their adult children. I guess back in the day, when I was in college, I didn't really communicate with my parents that much, except when I needed a few dollars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you just didn't pick up the phone and call mom and dad. But with today's technology, and I guess I look at this internally because I do have adult children. My wife's got 2 adult children, and they communicate daily. I mean, sometimes her daughter texts her 3 or 4 times a day. But I enjoy some sort of dialogue with my daughter and my son. All 3 of my kids. We even have these group chats where we sort of something newsworthy of the day, something that has come up, and we just share things and share pictures. And I don't know, it's been really interesting, and so I've sort of been interested in sort of what we're doing with this, and so we're happy to be joined this afternoon by Faith Hill from The Atlantic. Faith, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on.
So talk to us about your article and what you found and how it's important to parents today.
Yeah, absolutely. I just started thinking about this when I heard some statistics that really surprised me. It basically just showing that, young adults in America today, on average, are in very close contact with their parents. There's, a Pew poll that showed that more than 70% of respondents said they talk to their young adult kids on the phone at least a few times a week. Which, as you're saying, it's, I think a lot, and it's a big change. And I think there's a few different reasons for that trend, which I can get into. But, I was also curious about, whether it's necessarily a bad thing, because I think there's been a lot of, sort of criticism of young adults being too dependent on their parents, and people sort of thinking it's unnatural to be in this much contact. And I wanted to look into whether that was really the case.
So I think are we talking about 2 different issues? There's dependence on your parents to kind of help you either make grown-up decisions or being supported financially. And then there's the other side of just, I have a built-in friend, as you mentioned in your article. Like, this is just a person I already know. I'm an adult, and I still keep in contact with my mom or my dad.
Yeah, I think that's definitely right. And I think those things aren't mutually exclusive. Like, one thing that I found while reporting this is that, it's kind of both of those are true. Like, it's sort of more common now for young adults to get financial assistance from parents and advice, and I can understand why that seems like sort of like an obstacle to becoming fully independent. But first of all, research shows that it doesn't go just one way. So young adults are often helping out their parents and other family members too. They're contributing in different ways. And then, yes, also, as you're saying, I think there is a kind of beautiful emotional bond that isn't just about dependence or about logistical help. That's really like there's an opportunity now to have a real relationship as adults, especially because people are living longer on average today, that I think is really amazing. There's like a lot of time for some young adults and parents where, between the bookends of caregiving, like when a kid is taken care of and then when they, eventually take care of their parent, there's, God willing, like years to get to know each other as people.
Faith, have you found that part of this phenomena is the result of the ease with which we can now communicate with each other? That is via text messages, via emails, just having a phone in your pocket all the time and knowing that mom is just a click away.
I think that's definitely true. And I think a lot of times in this conversation, people have focused on how it's becoming more common for young adults to live with their parents, which is true. But yeah, as you're saying, like even, adult kids and parents who live really far away from each other have this ability to have like a constant stream of connection where, I think it allows them to talk about like the sort of little seemingly insignificant parts of their life that kind of make them who they are. They can even send pictures of whatever they're doing and talk about their friends. So like you don't only get the big life updates, you can keep in touch all the time, and then you get a better sense of like what this person's life is actually like outside of their family roles and sort of what they're doing, for you or within the context of the family.
So did you find any, first of all, I actually think this is really fascinating because it's caused me to kind of be introspective on my relationship to my parents or how I want to treat my kids when they grow up. So I'm in my late 30s. My dad's in his, I think he's late 60s or early 70s. I should know that. I hope he's not listening. And he calls me, he works a night shift, and he calls me every single day on his way to work. And I enjoy that relationship when we talk about what's going on in the day and what's talking about the news. But I want to know if this communication, if there's this increased communication, have you found any data or studies or even anecdotal that it's affecting adult kids and their decision-making skills that they have to do for themselves?
Yeah, the sense I got from talking to researchers is basically like overall it's positive for a lot of people, but that doesn't mean it's always positive for everyone. I think like it probably does really affect young adults' decisions. And I mean, one way to look at that is that, like young adults have always gotten advice. So it could be that they're just getting, sort of advice and guidance from someone who's really invested in them and a little bit wiser than like the peers that they might have been turning to in the past. But I think there's a flip side to it also that's valid. That is, advice is different when coming from parents, and it can kind of rub you the wrong way coming from a family member or someone who's significantly older than you. Like they might not get your context where you're coming from. And then also, it is more common now for young adults to get financial assistance from parents. And I think that sort of adds another layer of can be hard in that case to sort of have a different opinion than your parent. And it is important to get that autonomy. So I think it's mixed.
Yeah, that was Faith Hill from The Atlantic joining us. And I wanted to ask you a couple questions about this, Adam, because you just said something that really was interesting to me.
That's the first time Greg has ever said that.
You talk to your dad, and he drives to work almost every day. My son, he's a doc, and he calls me as he's leaving work probably 2 or 3 nights a week. And we just talk because we both have this commute at the same time of day. And I love it. And I mean, I love it. I don't even care what we're talking about.
You have real conversations. You didn't get to have them when they were 10.
Right.
You get to have them now.
So yeah, that's an interesting article, and I'm glad that I'm not bucking the trend a little bit, that maybe we're part of it. And I'm glad to hear that you're part of that too as a child. And you got to think about that going forward in your own life with your kids as they get older. Do you want to have communication? Would it be cool for your son to call you one day?
I would love it.
Say,
all 4 of them.
Right. Yeah. And Dad, here's what happened today. Or your daughter to say, hey, Dad,
Well, they don't tell me now.
That's right.
So I want to
I think it gets better. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about colleges and their policies toward campus protests. Do they need to be more consistent? Stay with us.
This is the first summer I've looked forward to in a long time because it's the first one since I let go of 70 pounds of fat weight with the help of my friends at Soda Weight Loss. I can't overstate how much it matters to have your own personal nutritionist to assist you on your health journey. And you get that at Soda Weight Loss with coaching, support, and real help, 100% over the phone. I agree with my friend Sandy, who says her Soda dietitians and nutritionists felt like family.
They rooted for me. They wanted me to succeed. For me, that was so big, is having someone in your corner.
Come find out what Sandy and I have learned. Soda works. Go to SOTAweightloss.com, click Request a Nutritionist Callback, and within minutes you'll be talking to someone who truly wants to help you get in the best shape of your life. Let me tell you, the hottest days of summer, well, they feel a lot less hot without that fat layer surrounding me, and I no longer want to avoid going to the pool with my kids. So start your own journey at SOTAweightloss.com, because SOTA stands for, say it with me, State of the Art.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 13 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, or other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 90 days from a station contest or event are not eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Why'd the kid jump off the boat?
I don't know. Why?
Peer pressure.
Oh. Good one, Ned.
Ned isn't funny, but Ned owns a boat, and you don't. So every time Ned tells another one of his unfunny boat puns, you're going to laugh loud and keep on laughing until you get a boat of your own.
A pier where you put a boat.
Yeah, I get it.
And when you do get a boat of your own, make sure you save money by bundling it with your home, auto, or other vehicles with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
When it's hot like this, air conditioners struggle to keep up. Parts are under more stress, and sometimes those parts fail. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and no one helps more homeowners maintain and repair their air conditioners than Any Hour Services. As a matter of fact, last year, over 32,000 homeowners called Any Hour Services for help maintaining and repairing their systems. Any Hour Services has over 100 HVAC technicians to help with everything from maintenance, repair, to installing a new system. This summer, there'll be a lot of people told they need to replace their air conditioner, and they'll wonder, do I really need to? If you're told you need to replace your air conditioner and you still have questions, Any Hour Services can give you a second opinion and let you know what options are available. Maybe it just needs a little maintenance or a small repair. Maybe it does need to be replaced, but if you don't feel good about being told you need to replace your air conditioner, don't ignore those feelings. Call Any Hour Services for help with air conditioner maintenance, repair, or to schedule a free second opinion. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, most communities along the Wasatch Front seeing highs of 100 or above today. Second, President Biden heading up the summit of NATO countries in Washington, marking the 75th anniversary of the alliance. And third, Utah topped 7 million skier days again this year, not as many as last year's record. 99 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm Adam Gardner here with KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas. Greg, it's ironic that we're dividing rage from reason. We're going to interview someone from literally the reason side.
Yeah.
One of my favorite place to get opinion and news is from Reason. And the reason we're talking about these encampments that happened over the last year, really, they were well coordinated across the country. They all were springing up at the same time, and some campuses, like the University of Utah, it got squashed really fast. Like, you can come and protest, but the second you're breaking the rules or you're on a certain part of campus after 10, you're gone. And a lot of them just let the embers and the fires kind of burn. And there was an article in the Harvard Crimson that said that those were punished for occupying a building and causing damage in the pro-Palestine confrontations and protests and riots and things. That they caused damage and they were kicked out. The university reversed their decision.
And it's really caused some problems because a lot of these college administrators have had to, just exactly what you just said, sort of tweak their opinion on what to do, because we want to invite college students to be able to protest, to peacefully protest. I spoke with one of the administrators at the University of Utah who said, look, we enacted a policy that said peaceful protest is fine, and it can even go into the night. It even go to the next day, but you can't camp. Now, I don't know what spending the night and camping, how those are different, but when people started putting up tents, that's when the university drew a line and said, okay, you're not just
And I think it worked.
And they had the police come, and people will give you different opinions on whether it worked, but it certainly broke it up.
So we have Emma Camp from Reason on the line. Emma, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, so you wrote a great piece about kind of free speech rights and the anti-Israel activist, movement. Tell me what the precipice was for writing this. What kind of drew you to it? Was there something specific that happened that really kind of got under your claw, or is this like a systemic thing?
So I cover free speech and civil liberties a lot, particularly how those relate to universities and education. And it was a little frustrating to see how people were talking about these encampments specifically and sort of how it relates to the First Amendment. I saw a lot of people either telling me, hey, you should write about how students' free speech rights are being violated when encampments get broken up. This is a free speech issue. And the thing is, it isn't really. When it comes to peaceful protests that aren't encampments, students in public universities have full First Amendment rights. In my opinion, I think private universities should allow all First Amendment protected speech, though they're not legally compelled to. But the thing is, schools are allowed to make reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. So it's generally perfectly reasonable for a school to say, look, you can protest, but you can't decide that you live here now, right? You can't take over a patch of campus and say, this is ours, we control who walks in and out of it, this is where we live now. In the same way that they can say, you can't blast music at 3 o'clock in the morning during finals, right? It's just a reasonable restriction that is content neutral, right? They can't say you can't have anti-Israel protests, but you can have pro-Israel protests. They say, no matter what you're protesting, these are the rules. And, to me, that seems perfectly legitimate. And then you get this problem with, say, Harvard, where they've reversed the suspensions of students who were not just engaging in encampments, where while I think it's a reasonable restriction to place, I can understand why people kind of go, well, what's the difference between having tents and not having tents? These students broke into a building and damaged property. No matter how you slice that, that is against not just Harvard's rules, but against the law. And it really kind of boggles my mind in this most recent case that the school caved to pressure to release punishment for those students.
Yeah, and it's interesting because a lot of people think that it's speech, but camping isn't a form of speech. Camping isn't part of the First Amendment. And I suppose setting up shop, having information booths, having people there to speak with you about whatever they're protesting is one form of exercising First Amendment rights. But when, like you say, when students are blocking other students from attending classroom, or when they are, let's face it, bullying Israeli students, Jewish students, and the school isn't taking action against that. That's kind of what's got some of these schools in trouble. And it's got some of the school administrators in trouble. And I suppose, Emma, that it's kind of a no-win for some of these administrators. But I've heard that some schools are just going to the point where they're saying, we don't take a position on campus protests. We just set, like you said earlier, time, place, and manner restrictions. Is that kind of the way that's going?
Yeah, I think taking an official stance of content neutrality, which several major universities have done, is really the way forward. Because I think going back to the broader sort of anti-Israel protest movement that happened over the past year or so, where schools got into a lot of trouble is when they had a history of making statements about current events, starting around 2020, and then there was the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, and they didn't do that, right? And in my view, schools should not be making statements about current events unless it is directly related to the school. They shouldn't be making these statements either way. But I think a lot of people sort of pointed out, like, okay, why are you so willing to make statements in one situation and then not in the other? They were certainly, in my view, much more tolerant of something like encampments in this situation than they would have been if they were advocating for different beliefs. And I think really the way forward is for schools to say, you know what? We're a place that people are supposed to learn at, right? We're a place where people are supposed to open their minds, learn new things, challenge each other. And so we're not going to take a side. And I think that can feel really hard when your student body and your faculty are almost all in one camp, or the vast majority are in one side of an issue. But I think that's really the best way forward. And then who knows, it might even make students less likely to engage in these destructive tactics, because they know that no matter how popular their speech is, or their not speech, their property destruction is, they will be treated the same as somebody else.
So we only have about a minute left, but I want to talk about the police aspect of this. So we've talked about school discipline. There were maybe from watching the news, it didn't seem like there were a ton of people arrested, and some of them were students, but a great majority of them weren't even students at the universities where they were protesting. That was the same here at the University of Utah. That was kind of the case. But for those that were arrested, were you seeing charges actually brought and filed against people?
I'm not super familiar with this off the top of my head. I don't believe that is super common. But I don't want to say conclusively either way. When it comes to the police response to the protests, that is something that can be a little dicey. I happened to just be visiting Charlottesville, where the University of Virginia is, when police came in and broke up that encampment. And, frankly, it made me quite uncomfortable. They brought in full riot gear wearing cops, police with giant guns, to break up what was, even if it was breaking the rules, a peaceful protest. They hadn't taken over any buildings yet or anything like that. They tear gassed the crowd. And I've kind of thought, like, well, okay, well, this is effective. They do technically have the right to do this, but I'm not sure if it felt like a little bit of a overboard to me. It made me a bit uncomfortable.
Thanks. That was Emma Camp from Reason. Thanks so much for being with us. Stay with us after the break.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, we're counting down 14 days until the historic announcement, Salt Lake City 2034.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour: we won't see a day below 100 degrees for the next few days. Nicole DeSmet with the National Weather Service says local buildings like libraries are being pressed into service as cooling centers.
If you're looking for some place to beat the heat, definitely look for something local.
Authorities telling everybody to stay inside during the hottest parts of the day. Celeste Malloy declared victory in the 2nd District Republican primary, but Colby Jenkins could call for a recount. His campaign fell within the 0.25% margin that's needed to qualify for a recount. Jenkins believes any issue with this election should be solved now, not later. Malloy says she's open to a recount if it comes to that. Our top national story this hour from ABC News: about 1 million customers in southeast Texas still without power after Hurricane Beryl. With this week's hot weather, conditions could get worse for those without power. Power company says their top priority is getting all the customers back online. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick says he's not sure the exact amount of people who've been confirmed dead following the storm. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up 429 points on the day now, and the NASDAQ is up 218 points as we approach the close of trading. And our KSL weather is nothing but hot. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, debunking 3 myths about fiduciaries. And you're going to be surprised about myth number 3. Myth number 1. Fiduciaries are too expensive. Not at Trajan Wealth. Our interests are aligned with yours, so we don't need to push costly investments. The more you make, the more we make. It's that simple. Myth number 2. They will only want to sell me something. Absolutely not. At Trajan Wealth, we have hearts of teachers, and it's our goal to educate and empower, not sell. And the biggest myth, myth number 3, fiduciaries are only for the wealthy. Not at Trajan Wealth. Whether you have 50 grand or 50 million, we know it was hard-earned and we'll treat it as such. Let's grow together. So, here's your opportunity for a 100% complimentary professional Q&A. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Discover the best of senior living at Trio Orem and Trio South Ogden. Today's older adults aren't wrapping up their life's journey, they're seeking a new one. And Trio Independent Living is here to help them do just that. With a smart, modern, and connected lifestyle, residents cultivate relationships and maximize independence through signature programs like Prime Fit Wellness that bring living well and well-being to life. Welcome to the new age of senior living. Schedule your visit at leisurecare.com/Utah today.
Feeling the heat at home in places your air conditioning can't reach? You might be overlooking a common culprit, your attic ventilation. Poor attic ventilation can spike your energy bills and shorten your roof's lifespan. Don't sweat it out this summer. Master Roofing is here to help. This July, Master Roofing is offering a free attic ventilation inspection and 20% off all attic ventilation services. Certified inspectors are ready to optimize your home's comfort and efficiency. Call 801-383-0072 or visit masterroofingutah.com to schedule your free inspection today.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up and spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do...
Let's play something, Grandma.
...became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meeks.
It's a good-looking drive on all of your Valley freeways. We do have Salt Lake City PD wrapping up a crash at Mario Capecchi Drive and Foothill. Keep an eye out for crews there, but overall quiet on the roads. Get ready for memorable summer evenings with the Utah Symphony, July 5th through August 9th in Park City. Tickets are on sale now at DeerValleyMusicFestival.org. Ricky Meeks in the KSL Traffic Center.
The heat wave is here. 103 for today's high, 105 tomorrow, 106 on Friday, and wildfire smoke is also affecting our air quality. And right now, we're at 100 degrees even. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside Sources. I'm Greg Skordas alongside Adam Gardner. We're standing in this morning for Boyd Matheson, who is off today. And Adam, it's been about 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks exactly, since the primary elections. And we've all been sort of waiting for the one race in particular, which is CD2, the congressional district that was vacated by Chris Stewart a year ago. Of course, Celeste Malloy jumped in, and she was sort of a one-year candidate, but had to run for her own re-election immediately. She was in a really close race with Colby Jenkins, which appears to be getting closer and closer by the day, but at some point they got to cut off the voting. And I think that it's close enough that it qualifies for a recount, or at least they're going to do that. But to help us break that down, we've got Deseret news writer Brigham Tomko to help us understand where we are with that race. Because, I mean, to me, being a political junkie, I do want to know what's going on. And I saw Celeste Malloy sort of claimed victory today, but maybe we're not quite there yet.
Not quite there, but we're close. And thanks again for having me. Last night, each of the 13 counties covered by the 2nd Congressional District finalized their election totals. And at the end of the day, Celeste Malloy was ahead of Colby Jenkins, her opponent, by 214 votes. Now, that is within the threshold that the state allows for the losing candidate to request a recount, because it's within 0.25% of the total votes cast. And so he plans on requesting that recount on July 22nd, which is the day that the state will certify those election results, and that's the earliest date that he could request that recount. And then within a week of him doing that, each of those counties will have to go through and rescan each of the ballots for this race.
So every single vote. This isn't like we're doing a quick audit of the election. They have to recount every single vote, right?
That's exactly right. Every single ballot that was counted will be recounted, re-put through that tabulation machine. And then each of the votes that wasn't counted because of a problem with signature verification or a late postmark, those will be re-examined as well to make sure that they were discarded rightly.
Does if we're talking about these uncured ballots, right? That's the word we're using, is uncured. So these are uncurables. In addition to recounting them, do each of the candidates get to say, we don't like that one, we don't think you should have counted that one, that signature, you guys are saying that it now matches, we don't think so? Are they recontacting those voters again to have them come back in and sign affidavits or anything? Or is it just, you see where we have this pile, we're going to just recount the pile and you can all look at them?
Yeah, so good question. No ballots will be cured during the recount process. And so
if you missed your chance, you're done.
Yeah, there'll be no more outreach to voters to give them a chance to remedy their ballots. And so it's unlikely that we'll see a large shift from where the results stand now.
Can you talk about any previous elections where we've had recounts?
Yeah, so the last time that we had a recount in a Republican congressional primary race was 30 years ago to the day almost.
Oh my God.
So 1994 is the 3rd Congressional District, and we saw the two candidates come within 160 votes of each other, which was barely within the then 0.5% threshold for a recount. And kind of like you were talking about before we started here, the candidate's lead that was already winning extended by 30 votes during the process of the recount. And so that was the result of that kind of a one data point we have from 30 years ago.
You don't remember that. You were in...
I was 7.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot.
I was -5.
Yeah,
so.
Thanks. I was in my 30s. Thank you both. Brigham, do you know if the counties will allow a representative of the various campaigns to at least sit in on their recount? Or do you know if that's appropriate? Let's say that the Malloy people say, we want to be there for Iron County's recount. And I'm just throwing out names and counties. Do you know if that's allowed?
My understanding is that, as with all election procedures, the public is allowed to observe from 6 feet away the process is taking place. And following the count in each of these 13 counties, there will be an audit, as there is before the election certification of any election. But this audit actually is more stringent than the one that just took place before election certifications happened on Tuesday. This audit, before the recount is certified, requires election officials and county commissioners to go through 3% of the ballots cast by hand and compare them to the tabulation record that they have a picture taken of and recorded. And so that will take place before the results are given to the Lieutenant Governor's office for the final.
So like an internal audit of the particular county by literally counting 3% of the ballots to make sure that corresponds with what the machine's tabulated.
Yep, exactly.
Interesting.
Okay, so there's going to be some complaints in this. And I'm going to preface this by saying this is politics, people. If you are winning, you want to keep as few additional votes coming into the process as possible. And if you are losing, you want every vote that has been thrown out to be back into the process. And the biggest reminder I've been giving folks is Florida 2000, you have Bush v. Gore, and Gore wanted a recount because it was really close, but only in Miami-Dade and some other Democratic counties, because he wants additional votes to count, and he wants to improve his numbers, and does not want Republican districts to be counted. So this is politics. This is how it always goes. There has been a huge issue with postmarked ballots. So if a ballot has been thrown out because it was postmarked on the wrong day, which there were a number of, I think 400 and something in Iron County. Was there something like 1,000 in Washington County? I don't know if it was that high. I could be just completely making up numbers. Brigham will correct me. But if those votes have not been counted, I could see the Jenkins campaign saying, we want all of them counted. These were disenfranchised voters, because this is their strongholds in Iron and Washington County. Is there a path forward under state law, anything that you've seen for those votes to be counted?
So the short answer is that no. There's no pathway for these ballots to be counted that were received with a late postmark from the U.S. Postal Service. And this became a big issue in the final days of the canvass period, which is the days leading up to the certification of the election, because a few Southern Utah county commissioners, as well as several voters, alleged that their ballots, which they had put in the mail before the June 24th deadline, had been rejected because they were postmarked on Election Day or after Election Day. And the problem being is that in Southern Utah, ballots are actually routed through Las Vegas before they're given to the county clerks in Washington County, Iron County, for example. But the unfortunate truth is that under state code, there's no wiggle room for county clerks. If the ballot has a late postmark, then it can't be counted.
And except for the 3% that are hand counted, the counting method is the same as it was previously. In other words, you're going to run them through the computer just like you did before. Yep. So you wouldn't expect, Brigham, necessarily for there to be a significant difference if we're counting them the same way.
Exactly. They ran through the same machines. And one area where you might see a few votes switch over or a few votes added is as they go through these ballots that were rejected, potentially they will see a signature confirmation, or they'll see a hand mark or a hand stamped mark on one of these ballots that had been rejected for a late postmark, and that would have been added at a Utah post office maybe before the deadline, and those will be counted. And so there might be small shifts, but I don't think there's room for any big changes in the race.
And we've only got a few seconds, but you've told us already that Colby Jenkins' campaign has indicated they are going to request a recount. That's a given.
Yep, they will do it on July 22nd.
Interesting. Well, that's a race that's not quite over yet, and we'll see how that comes out. Brigham, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
When we come back after the break, let's talk about Biden's health and how we're talking about that. It's certainly big news and something that doesn't seem to be going away. Stay with us.
our sun.
From 150 million kilometers away, we recognize its power.
Is bringing the heat.
Chances we see are all-time hottest of 107.
Whether we hit the record or break it, it'll be scorching. Get the temperature and updated forecast all week. The July heat wave on KSL News Radio.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan, where we know how to celebrate summer. First, something super cool when it's really hot. Logan has a brand new plaza downtown with music and games and a splash pad for kids. I mean, I said kids, but hey, we don't judge. Jump in. Keep it cool by stepping inside one of 3 historic theaters for more than 250 professional live performances in 5 weeks. Wow, nobody does that. But we do, because we're Utah's heart of the arts. Chill on Center Street before or after the show and sink your teeth into sourdough pizza, a brew and a burger, hand-dipped chocolates, or other delicious goodies from fun cafes. Don't forget, your hotel is only 10 minutes from the National Forest for hiking and biking. Take gorgeous photos of the stunning scenery and enjoy cooler temperatures in the canyon. Step back in time at the American West Heritage Center. You can hang out with a mountain man, have a pony ride, meet pioneers, and check out the farm. We've got a lot going on. Check us out at ExploreLogan.com. Inside or out, we're always a few degrees cooler. ExploreLogan.com. ExploreLogan.com.
The life of a small business owner. Keeping the lights on, calling all the shots. And then there's workplace accidents. 500-degree ovens, rusty nails. Danger lurks around every corner. Workplace accidents can happen, but there is an easy way to keep your employees covered. Talk to your agent about workers' comp coverage from Pi, or go to piinsurance.com and get a quote. Safety first, then Pi Insurance. Individual rates, offerings, and savings may vary, subject to policy terms and conditions. Not available in all states and situations.
Hey Utah! When it comes to guiding the growth of our state, you buzzed in with your comments, and we listened to what you had to say. Your feedback on the future of Utah's housing, water, transportation, and open space will continue to help our leaders make important policy decisions, preserving and improving our high quality of life in meaningful ways for years to come. So, thanks for speaking up. Learn more about our state's future at guidingourgrowth.utah.gov.
Hi, welcome to Staples.
Hi, my son's teacher emailed his back-to-school list. He needs crayons and a comp book for every subject.
Okay, no problem. With Staples Hot Deals, you'll find super low prices on hundreds of items for back to school.
Oh, now they're saying he needs folders and glue.
You got it.
And markers?
Of course.
Oh, geez.
Can we get a cart, please?
Save big on back to school with Staples Hot Deals. Right now, 24-pack Crayola crayons and comp books are only 50 cents each at Staples. Ends 8/24, in-store only, limit 30.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
IVC is celebrating 20 years providing quality service in Utah. You've probably heard their saying by now, life starts when the pain stops. IVC is the most trusted interventional and vein center in the state, and they've been voted Best of Utah Valley 10 years running. The 7 physicians at IVC provide state-of-the-art, comprehensive vein care with many years of experience. The team at IVC takes the time to get to know you and your veins so you're comfortable with the right diagnosis and the right treatment. Patients are like family at IVC. You've also heard many radio ads over the years with real people describing how IVC has dramatically improved their quality of life by eliminating the pain and discomfort caused by varicose veins. Well, what are you waiting for? Don't let vein disease slow you down even one more day, because life starts when the pain stops. Visit ivein.com today to set up a free screening. That's ivein.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the next few days, temperatures will not drop below 100 degrees for a high. Some local buildings, like libraries, will be serving as cooling centers. Second, about 1 million customers in southeast Texas still without power after Hurricane Beryl. And third, Colby Jenkins could still call for a recount even after Celeste Malloy declared victory in the 2nd District Republican primary. 100 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm Adam Gardner here with Greg Skordas. Greg, we're talking about Biden's health, his cognitive abilities, and what some are saying is cognitive decline that became on full display after the debate a few weeks ago. And we've talked. It's interesting because I feel like sometimes we've talked about this a ton on this show and in other shows, and that's because kind of the issue really isn't going away. And I think a lot of folks really felt that they were seeing this cognitive decline in real time, and the media was not reporting on it. Every time there was usually only one White House reporter that was ever asking anything about it, and he was not taken seriously by the White House and by a lot of other media folks. And so now that the debate has happened, all of a sudden we're getting some really good back and forth between the press corps and the White House, especially the press secretary. And just recently, I think it was yesterday, a question was asked by Steve Doocy after a report came out that he needed to be in bed by 8 o'clock and wanted to cut down on some meetings and some work. And he said, well, what if there's a nuclear strike coming in? Are you guys going to wake him up at 9?
Right.
And the press secretary just got up and she walked out of the room. And so we've kind of been asking this question about why is the media caring right now? And there was a really great opinion piece in The Hill from a media critic, Jeff McCall. And Jeff, I want to say thanks so much for being on the show today.
You're welcome. Great to be with you.
So what prompted this? Were you having the same feelings as some of us were having? Is that what prompted this opinion piece?
Well, as a media critic and a professor at a university, I monitor the media pretty closely, and I've observed the news process over the last several years in terms of setting the news agenda. And one thing that has occurred to me is that, the president's frailties and cognitive declines have been on display now for a couple of years. And it seems to me that the journalism industry, broadly defined, has been guilty of what I call the journalism of omission, that they have omitted and declined to cover a big part of the political landscape, and that is whether the president is up to the task of being the president of the United States. And one thing I like to say here is that omissions are not accidents. So when the media chose not to cover some of the Biden frailties and some of the cognitive displays that he had over the last couple of years, they were deciding not to cover that. Now, I'm not sure exactly. I don't want to read minds of the media, but there were reasons, I'm sure, for not doing that. And I think one of the reasons, frankly, is that they were trying to run cover for the Biden White House. And I must say here, it's a very touchy subject when news organizations want to cover any president in decline, because nobody wants to come off as ageist and nobody wants to belittle a senior citizen who's struggling with the effects of age. And just for the record, I'm a senior citizen myself. So I know that there are problems when you get into senior citizen territory. But not everybody's the president of the United States. And I think it's incumbent upon the press corps, with a straight face and as accurately and fairly as possible, to give us a full assessment of what the president's capabilities are and are not. And I think that they've missed many chances over the last couple of years to delve into this story, and for whatever reasons, they did not. And I think that has led to the problem we face now, because everybody's got their hair on fire after the last debate. And one of the questions I have for the news reporters, particularly the ones in the White House press corps, is what are you all seeing now that you hadn't seen 5 and 6 and 7 months ago or a year or two ago? And I'm not sure that with a straight face they could say they see that much worse than what they saw in the last couple of years.
And I know, Jeff, that you've qualified this by saying you don't want to take an opinion on why this occurred, but there has to be some logic to it other than just, hey, we don't want to pick on an old person. I mean, is there some notion that the press was more than just sympathetic toward an old man?
Well, I think there's a possibility of that. One of the bits of speculation I raise in my column that's in the Hill today was I wonder if the press might have been more aggressive in covering this story if Biden were comfortably in the lead in the polls and seemed on his way to a reelection. And I think part of the concern here is amongst the media, and I'm not, giving away the farm here. There's plenty of evidence that your establishment media people, editors and producers, are generally left of center. And so I have a feeling, that, and that's what I speculate in my column, that perhaps they were figuring that as long as Biden is in the lead, polling-wise, or at least competitive in the margin of error, they were willing to kind of overlook his frailties. But once the debate happened and Trump seemed to be making movement in some of the swing states in terms of polling, maybe there was kind of a moment where there was a realization like, hey, maybe we'd better start covering this and see like what that means for the Democratic ticket, generally speaking.
Do you think the media are covering this story in a different way now, apart from just being really not argumentative, but just asking pointed question to the press secretary? But what we've seen lately is a lot of leaks coming out of the White House, like that I mentioned. He has to go to bed at 8, or he talked to an advisor and said, hey, I don't know if I'm going to run again, and we're seeing all these stories pop up that I don't remember seeing over the last 3 years from White House officials and leaks out of the White House. Do you think that it is now the press is taking a second look at themselves and participating in some of these leaks, or not that they're the ones leaking something, but they're taking this information that they're overhearing or hearing from senior staff and running with it and making it like a bigger news story than it ever has been before?
Oh, clearly they've found that this is a story that needs to be covered. And I guess my question is, why haven't we been covering it all along? But it is interesting to think that since the debate performance of just a couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden the media seems very interested, and they seem to be finding sources that they were not interested in talking to, apparently, in the past. But there have been all kinds of signals in the public sphere over the last couple of years about the president's failings. I mean, it's worth noting, for example, that President Biden has been generally unavailable for press conferences. He's done very few serious journalism interviews. He has an extensive vacation calendar. The White House even declined the Super Bowl interview last winter, which kind of like is unheard of, and a great opportunity to display the president in an informal way and talking about, a topic that's happy for everybody in terms of the National Football League and that sort of thing. But the one thing that I think that the media really missed out on was when Robert Hur's special counsel report came out last winter. If you go back and look at the coverage of that, it was pretty much poo-pooed and dismissed as a partisan hack job and politically motivated. And if you look at Robert Hur's report, there are plenty of examples in there and indications that the president was struggling. He had memory problems, had trouble finishing sentences, and the media just did not delve into that story at the time. And like I said, dismissed it. And there would have been plenty of opportunity to delve into that story more deeply, because one thing we know is that Robert Hur, who was a special counsel looking into President Biden's classified documents issue, Robert Hur's team spent hours and hours over 2 days with the president last October. So they saw the president up close and in depth in ways for hours that White House news correspondents hadn't been able to see, voters hadn't been able to see, congressional leaders had not been able to see. And when that report came out and said they're not even going to prosecute him because they think his memory is so bad, that should have opened the floodgates. And instead, the journalism industry dismissed the whole thing as a partisan hack job.
That was Jeff McCall. Please go and read his editorial in The Hill. It was fantastic, titled, "Why Didn't the Media Question Biden's Fitness for Office Until Now?" Stay with us, listeners. We're going to be talking about Wisconsin and the Republican National Convention next week. Stay with us.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Former Utah Attorney General candidate Frank Mylar has been charged with a felony. He's accused of offering a bribe in exchange for an endorsement during the race. Charging documents allege Mylar texted another candidate, Trent Christensen, in April, offering him a job in the Utah Attorney General's office for endorsing his campaign.
These are not things that we typically see, but the evidence was there. The statute is fairly straightforward and clear, and based on what was presented to our screening attorneys, we filed the charges that we did today.
And that's Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill, who thanked Murray Police for conducting a thorough investigation. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Democratic lawmakers still talking about whether President Biden can win re-election and defeat former President Donald Trump. So far, a majority of lawmakers are standing behind Biden. Some, though, have publicly said he should step aside. Senate Democrats are holding a closed-door meeting tomorrow to talk about this. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up 429 points today at the close of trading. The NASDAQ was up 218. The S&P 500 was up 56. And our KSL weather. The hot weather is going to be with us for at least the next 4 days and longer. That's coming up. KSL News Time, 2:32.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
You may have expected today to be like yesterday or the day before, but when it comes to what today really is, you may need to look again. You see, today's the day to reach out to Loyal Energy and ask about the $1,500 they have waiting for you if you're a homeowner and you commit to going solar. Yes, $1,500. That's pretty unusual, but actually, so's their name. Why Loyal Energy? Because their goal's to be your honest and loyal energy company that puts you first. Look, you're not stuck with your current energy company, and Loyal Energy's ready to help you break free with cutting-edge solar energy and roofing solutions that deliver clean and sustainable power. And they're willing to pay you $1,500 to go solar and start seeing savings from the first day. You weren't expecting this from today, but here it is. Transform your energy usage, reduce costs, and contribute to a sustainable environment at loyalenergy.com. Loyalenergy.com.
Honey! Hello, honey! This has to stop.
Mowing the lawn? I can't. It grows too fast.
You planted grass in our bedroom.
Yeah, the green is a great compliment to the blue walls.
You planted grass in the hall and the kitchen, too.
I know. I love grass.
Yeah, I love grass, too, but not everywhere.
Does that mean I have to get rid of the riding mower, too? She handles great down the hallway.
Mom warned me there'd be days like this.
Grass doesn't belong everywhere. So now Utah Water Savers offers an incentive plan to replace your grass with water-efficient landscaping. Earn as much as $3 for every square foot of lawn replaced. Register at utahwatersavers.com and learn what incentives are available in your area. And if you thought money didn't grow on trees, guess again. Add trees to your project from a pre-approved list and you'll enjoy a tree bait. Reducing water use is one of the most impactful long-term changes you can make. So start at utahwatersavers.com. utahwatersavers.com.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
A good drive on the Valley freeways. We do have an accident. Redwood Road, 1700 South, and Salt Lake City PD wrapping up a crash at 1800 South and 3rd West. Hey, Utah County, Jones Paint and Glass is opening a new location in Payson. Be sure to come to their grand opening celebration on July 27th from 8 to 5. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The heat wave is here. A high of 103 today, 105 tomorrow, 106 on Friday, and wildfire smoke is also affecting our air quality. It's 100 degrees right now. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
You're back with us on Inside Sources. I'm Greg Skordas alongside Adam Gardner, and this is something that snuck up on me just a little bit, I have to be honest, and that is that the Republican National Convention is next week.
I'm going.
You are?
I'm an alternative delegate.
Oh, good for you.
I've never been before, but I realized that nobody had signed up. There was so few people that had signed up to run to be a delegate this time. I was like, I've put my name on this thing for 20 years. I'll put it on again. And then I went home before they even voted on the delegates. And then I found out from an email that I won and was now obligated to pay thousands of dollars to go to Milwaukee.
Oh, you got to pay your own way.
You got to pay your own way. You donate a large amount to the party that pays for your room. They pre-book your room. You stay far away, and then you pay a convention fee that they charge you, which is I think $1,000 or $2,000, and they use that to buy dinners and rent the bus that takes you into the convention center. And you just kind of stay with your state and all the delegates and alternates in each hotel. So it should be a fun time. We'll see.
Well, there you go. Our next guest is going to help us talk about the significance of the location, that is Wisconsin. We're talking about Caroline Vakil, who writes for The Hill. Caroline, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks so much for having me.
And we know that Wisconsin has been a swing state. We know that I think 4 years ago Biden won in Wisconsin, but by a fairly close margin. Do you think there's significance this year that the Republicans chose Wisconsin as the venue?
Definitely. I think that it signals for Republicans that they are taking Wisconsin extremely seriously. And acknowledging its status as a critical, swing state that's going to be determining not only the presidency, but is also going to be the road through which the Senate majority gets decided, with Senator Tammy Baldwin up for re-election this year.
Okay, so this has we're talking implications for down ballot races. Does that really factor when you're picking a location, the state races?
So, it's not going to be determinative in terms of how it's going to pick the state races. There's, obviously, I think Republicans' decision to choose Wisconsin is a nod to the fact that they know that this is a critical battleground state that they're going to have to win in November. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be a boon for Eric Hovde, who's the Senate candidate running against Senator Baldwin. Or for Wisconsin Republicans who are looking to keep or win House seats on the lower level. But I think it is a nod to the fact that it's an important state and just shining a spotlight on what role it's going to play in November.
Caroline, Trump has to at some point announce his vice presidential candidate. And he has to do that, I would assume, before this convention. I mean, do we have any idea where we are with both that announcement and the timing?
Well, we are, I think with a lot of things related to Trump, he kind of keeps us on our edge. So, I think we were sort of expecting before the convention that maybe we would hear something. And it really remains to be seen, to be honest. I mean, this is sort of Trump's show, Trump's RNC, and so I think along with it, we're not totally sure who he's going to, when the timing of it is, but we know it's sort of down to three choices now, which is North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, and Senator Marco Rubio of Florida.
Okay, so how do things stand today? Can you remind listeners and myself how much Biden won Wisconsin by last time, and where do the polls show right now?
Sure. So it's crazy that it's only been 4 years at this point, but basically Biden won the state in 2020 by just over 20,000 votes. Trump won the state of Wisconsin in 2016 by roughly the same margin, about 22,000 votes in 2016. And so that is going to be, sort of what we're looking at heading into to 2024. Polling right now shows that even though this has been a state where Biden has fared generally the best, or one of the best out of the swing states that he's been polling against Trump in, there was a recent AARP poll released yesterday that showed Biden down 6 points against Trump. So kind of remains to be seen how much of the debate performance and the aftermath of that is going to be a short-term or a long-term effect for him in states like Wisconsin.
Did you say an AARP poll?
Yes.
So you would expect there would be a little more sympathy toward the senior candidate. That's interesting. They conducted a poll. I'm sorry, that just struck me as kind of funny. Anything else that you think could be interesting that maybe isn't on a lot of our listeners' radar that could come out at this Republican National Convention next week in Milwaukee?
I think one thing that I kind of think about, not necessarily related to the RNC, but I think in some ways, sort of talking to sources for this piece, in a lot of ways, the Republican electorate that Trump's, coming back to hasn't really changed since 4 years ago. But the state and some of its politics have changed since then. I think one thing that's particularly notable is the Wisconsin Supreme Court has flipped from a conservative majority to a liberal majority. And that might seem kind of like a very small, sticking point, but that majority has kind of led to a couple really big decisions that are going to affect some of the politics for Trump, depending on whether or not he's in the White House. That state Supreme Court is allowing absentee drop boxes, ballot boxes, to be used in November, which is something that, Trump and Republicans, vocalized criticism about in the last presidential election. It's also allowing the state legislature maps to be redrawn before November. It's also, because it's a liberal majority, it's also going to be pretty unlikely or pretty unsympathetic to any potential election certification lawsuits that we could potentially see going into 2024 again, or after the election, I should say. A lot of these lawsuits ended up being cast, but I think it's kind of worth noting that this is a liberal, state Supreme Court, and so I think they're going to be even less likely to want to kind of entertain any of those sort of legal issues if there's really no clear evidence of, fraud or that kind of thing. And so I think it's a lower level sort of thing that might be glossed over, but I think that's kind of worth noting that some of the state's politics have changed a little bit, and some of the institutions that Trump might have to work around or against, heading into November.
I actually think that was a great question, because your answers, Caroline, were fantastic. I hadn't considered any of that or conditions on the ground, so I thought that was great. We only have a little bit of time now, but I want to just ask if that poll that was done, are voters saying in Wisconsin why they're looking at shifting between Biden and now going back to Trump?
That's a great question. I personally don't know a lot of the specifics around what caused that shift. That would be a question for Ward Impact and Fabrizio Ward, the pollsters that did it. But I do think, one thing worth noting is that polls, as every pollster will say, is sort of like a data point in time. You can have to take it with a grain of salt. But the more polls that you see, and if they're offering a trend in a direction, that's worth something to continue to consider. One professor that I talked to for the piece, did note that Wisconsin is notoriously hard to poll. And so, there were a lot of signs that Hillary Clinton was doing well with Wisconsin in 2016. That wasn't necessarily the case. So I think I would use it as a data point. I do wonder if we start to see more polls like this how much of this is really about Biden's debate performance and some of the more favorable environment that Republicans are seeing right now versus other factors. But, for Democrats that are trying to be instilling, especially the Biden campaign, trying to instill confidence in rank and file members that they're going to be okay heading into November, this poll certainly was not going to be one data point to be showing right now. So
exactly. That was Caroline Vakil from The Hill. Thank you for joining us. And Adam, I'll be interested in your report about the convention after next week.
So will I.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
If you had your own personal nutritionist, what would you ask her? Maybe you'd ask her, look, you got to find a way for me to have sugar because without sugar, I don't want to live. Or maybe you'd say, I want to cook better so that my children have better eating habits and don't struggle with their weight the way I have my whole life. I bring this up because if you go to SOTA Weight Loss, SOTA weightloss.com, there's a button right there. You can click on it. It says, request a nutritionist callback, and she'll call you right back.
Yeah, what you find out is that idea that you may have to lose out on sugar is unfounded because there's a lot of other great products on the market that you're going to love.
They're sweet.
That don't have that crazy high content of sugar. My daughter lost 42 pounds on this program, and they can help you too. Their goal is to make sure you keep that weight off so that relationship goes on even after you've reached your goal weight for as long as it takes in the maintenance phase. Find out more. Go to sotaweightloss.com, spelled SOTA.
And click on that button that says request a nutritionist callback.
It stands for state of the
art.
Do you know why more homeowners choose Any Hour Services for help when it's time to replace their air conditioners? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the main reasons people choose Any Hour Services is because of our people, processes, and convenience. People tell us all the time that there's just something different about having an Any Hour Services technician in their home. That's why most of our over 18,000 Google reviews mention our technicians by name. Another reason is our 7-step install process that we call the Any Hour Difference. It all starts with a needs analysis where you explain what you like and dislike about your current system. This helps us design and size a system that fits your comfort and efficiency preferences as well as your home's airflow requirements. As for convenience, most of our installs are completed in one day. We also have flexible, no money down financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. So if you've been thinking about getting a new air conditioner, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Want to keep your gas-powered engines running like new? Stable's proprietary formulas are proven by third-party testing to outperform the competition in keeping fuel fresh, preventing corrosion, and cleaning the entire fuel system. With Stable, you can have confidence you are doing the right thing for your engine's long-term health. Just pour into your gas can or fuel tank, then top off with fresh fuel. At every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable. Available where fuel additives are sold.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up! And call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Troy, how is it possible that we're already past the summer solstice?
And how is it possible that Bish's is already celebrating our first full year in American Fork right now?
So what are we going to do to make the most out of the rest of summer and celebrate our first anniversary?
Oh, buddy, buckle all the way up for the biggest Bish's RV block party you've ever experienced.
Let's make the rest of summer the best of summer with the lowest pricing of the season on all new and used RVs.
With payments as low as $179 per month on approved credit, 0 down, and an unheard of 5-year extended warranty.
Plus, purchase any RV during the sale and receive free propane refills for life or as long as you own the RV.
And July 19th and 20th, get free lunch from 11 to 2 and let the family play all day long with activities for the kids. Go to Bish's.com/summerblockparty for more details.
Kickstart the rest of your summer at the Bish's RV Summer Block Party, July 15th through the 20th.
Only at Bish's RV of American Fork, where memories begin.
OIC based on 0% down, 7.9% APR for 180 months. Stock number L751771, subject to prior sale. Deal number 822B. See dealer for details.
We have some exciting news to announce.
Master Electrical Service has joined Mountain Home Services.
And I can speak from experience, Deb. Mountain Home Services installed my furnace years ago, and it's been amazing.
And we know Master Electrical Service has been your trusted source for all your electrical needs, like your EV chargers, your generators, and recessed lighting.
But now that they've joined Mountain Home Services, they can help you with your HVAC, your heating and air, as well as your plumbing.
And it comes with that upfront pricing guarantee. I love the upfront pricing guarantee because it means no hidden fees.
100% satisfaction guarantee as well.
Master Electrical Service has been the name you trust since 1954.
They're the company we trust, and so can you.
Check them out now at mountainhomeutah.com.
That's mountainhomeutah.com, or give them a call at 801-543-2222. So easy to remember, 801-543-2222.
July has some wacky holidays. Did you know that it's National Picnic Month? But my favorite is National Carpet Cleaning Month. At Zero Res, it's the holiday we wait for all year. Our ZR water cleans carpet without leaving behind any icky, crunchy residue. Top off your clean with an expert air duct service for a healthier home. So celebrate with Zero Res and mention the KSL special to get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $99 plus 2 free tickets to Broovies Cinema Pub. Get showtimes and tickets at broovies.com and book your cleaning today at zerores.com.
Attention business and property managers. GoPave Utah delivers star-spangled striping, paving, repair, and maintenance across the Wasatch Front. Let freedom ring for your customers with GoPave Utah. Contact at gopavutah.com.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, former Utah Attorney General candidate Frank Mylar has been charged with a felony for allegedly offering a bribe in exchange for an endorsement during the race. Second, Senate Democrats will hold a closed-door meeting tomorrow to discuss whether President Biden can win re-election against former President Donald Trump. And third, one of the victims of the Stadium of Fire firework incident was a young dancer who was determined to perform even after she got hit. 100 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm Adam Gardner, here with KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas, and we're filling in for Boyd on Inside Sources today. We're just about to wrap up the show, but we've had some really great conversations about, we've had some awesome, people following the news and working in the news. It's been great.
And some breaking news,
some breaking news with with Frank Mylar being charged today. And we've talked about kids and their communication with parents, and we've talked about Milwaukee as a swing state. We've covered the whole gamut here over these last couple of hours. But we had a great segment with Brigham Tomko of the Deseret News, where he kind of broke down that process of how the votes are going to be recounted. So we have this.
We're talking about the 2nd Congressional District and the fact that it's so close that there probably is going to be a recount. It's within that threshold.
The threshold is 0.25%. I think we're at 0.2. But the losing candidate has to request that a recount take place, and they are not allowed to make that request until the state Board of Canvassers, and they meet on July 22nd. So that's when he'll be allowed to ask for a recount. He tweeted out that it's his duty to the 53,000 people that voted for me.
Colby Jenkins.
Colby Jenkins. You're keeping me straight, Greg. Thank you. And that he make the request on their behalf to make sure every single vote is counted. We also asked Brigham if there was a way for those votes that were postmarked late. By state law, it has to be postmarked. Your ballot that you mail in has to be postmarked the day before the election. There were about 415 ballots in Iron County that were postmarked late. They came in with a batch of several thousand, and there was about 400 that did not meet their criteria. Some of their.
And I think what you're telling me is that that's a bright line. That a day late, the postmark coming in late is a.
That's a no-no.
Right.
It's your vote does not count.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the county clerk in Iron County sent letters to those 400 people and said, "We're sorry, it was postmarked too late. Your vote will not count." And I've been following this pretty extensively on X. I've read as many articles as I can get my hands on. Mike Lee posted an article from The Blaze. The Blaze is saying that this is a huge voter controversy. This has been the law for a while now, and for the past 6 elections, we've known about this. So, and I remember seeing tweets from Governor Cox while he was lieutenant governor running for governor. They were tweeting it out all the time. They sent messages to voters in rural counties saying, hey, this is an issue. You should not drop your ballot in the mail the day before the election. Up north, it counts. Down here, it will not, because it has to travel to Las Vegas to be postmarked, and that takes a day.
Right.
And so by the time it comes back, you're a little late. A bunch of folks have been calling this disenfranchisement. And I know there's some county commissioners in rural Utah that have said that some voters are being disenfranchised. And I just want.
And I suppose the notion, of course, is that every vote should count.
Agreed.
Period.
Agreed. Every vote should. Every time you cast a vote, it should count.
Right.
I have likened it to if I show up the day after the election, and I want to vote in person. Well, I'm going to get told the machines aren't even here anymore. No, you can't vote. Well, I am a registered voter. I am eligible to vote. Let me vote. There is no way my vote will ever count. Was I disenfranchised? No, I was just late. There are a couple of remedies for this as citizens. So if you live in rural Utah and you're going to go on vacation, there was an article that mentioned a couple in Enoch. And Enoch, they were going to go on vacation. They were not going to be here for same-day voting. And so the day before the election, they popped it in the mail and expected their vote to count. It did not. The remedy for that is every single city, to my knowledge, has a drop box where you can take your ballot and put it in the drop box. It's usually at a city hall. I live in West Jordan. West Jordan's a very big city.
You're saying even rural communities have these.
The city of Enoch has a drop box. So you can go to the Enoch City Hall.
There's no excuse.
There's no excuse. Or you can go in directly that day before Election Day, and you can actually get a postmark from the post office. If you just put it in your mailbox, you're not going to get that stamp for another day.
Interesting.
Or you can wait until the next day, and then you can go in person to vote. And across the county.
That's Election Day.
That's Election Day across the county. What I want to stress is that disenfranchisement is a real thing. There are states in this country that try to make it difficult for some groups of people, disenfranchised groups of people to vote. I do not consider Utah one of those states. It is very easy to vote, and I hope that we learn from this experience in southern Utah and this postmark issue. Right now, if it's a huge issue, they're going to change the state law. There's no way around counting those votes. We can't count those votes because that would be against state law. If this is a real issue, we're going to have to deal with that down the road. But I got to give credit to the state of Utah. It is very easy to register to vote here.
Good point.
And to vote here.
Very good point. And the postmark has to be the day before the election.
That's right, not the day of. And the reason for that is if I'm looking at the returns and then I see that my candidate's losing, but I haven't cared about the election, and then I can hurry and go vote and slap it in the mail and turn it in, that should not count. Greg, fantastic show.
Lots of fun.
Thanks so much for being with me. Stay with us for the news.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, we're counting down 14 days until the historic announcement, Salt Lake City 2034.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. 100 degrees.
We've already been to 102 this afternoon, KSL's top story. One of the candidates for Utah's Attorney General has been charged with a felony. He's accused of bribing a candidate to drop out of the race. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is live with details. Eric?
Jeff, former Utah Attorney General candidate Frank Mylar has been charged with a felony for allegedly offering a bribe in exchange for an endorsement during the race, as announced by the Salt Lake County DA's office.